computers, about jobs, about how important all of your classes are, and about life skills and how the computer interacts with, you know, your daily routine and how you'll be using it once you get out of high school. And any other questions that you might have, he is open to them. He has written some articles in a bunch of tech magazines. I can't think of any right off the top of my head though. But, and he's up on the latest like apps and innovations that are coming out. So if you guys have questions about that, feel free to ask. You might give him an idea to go out and patent it or something. But also, where's Lexi? Lexi, raise your hand. Where are you?
Oh, what? Hi.
This is Lexi's grandfather. So we are lucky enough to have him today. So
Merry
we have until 10.
Nice.
40.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. How many of you are 12 years old? Most people are 12 years old. I want to tell you a story about somebody and what they did when they were 12. Okay? What do y'all do right now most of the time? How many of you play video games?
Oh yeah.
How many of you have cell phones?
Oh, I have cell phone too.
Okay. How many of you know how to write programs?
What? Writing a program. No.
Well, the things that make computers work are called applications. And applications are programs. It's actually shorthand for application programs. I'm going to tell you about a 12-year-old who started writing code that's called programming. Started learning about it when he was 12. Well, now he's 17. And guess what he did last month?
He made a new website.
No, he did a little more than the website. He came up with an idea. And who's heard of Yahoo? Okay. Who's heard of Google? Yahoo was around before Google. Google came along and did a better Yahoo and stole the market. But this kid's name's Nick. And Nick, last month, at age 17, sold what he had created as his own business to Yahoo. Guess how much they bought it?
2 million. 2.5 million.
2. Oh, you crazy? 2.5 million? No, it was
2.5 billion.
40 million.
Dang.
$40 million. Okay? Yes, sir.
What exactly was his business?
Well, I thought I might tell you about it.
Dude, you can wait.
So let me answer that question. And let me just, I'll do it interactively. So I want to tell you that story, okay? I'll tell you about his business and what he did. So what does this mean in abbreviation? That's a TL.
TL.
DR. That's shorthand. We do a lot of shorthand since we're texting and, you know, we're creating our own terms and abbreviations. What's LOL? Oh.
W1.
Okay. What's another one?
W1.
W what?
YD.
WY what?
WYD.
What's that mean?
What are you
What are you
doing?
doing? So WYD, guys. All right. How about too long, didn't read? Too long, didn't read. That's a reply that the message you sent, I don't have time to read something that long. Too long, didn't read. And if you start reading things, you mentioned I write some articles, well sometimes people might look at my articles and go, oh, TL, DR. You got me? Follow me? If you look at news, a lot of news stories get too long very quickly. And a lot of people don't read them. So this kid, after he learned to be programming and other stuff, thought, I think I can come up with a way to summarize long stories to make them shorter and be able to read them from a what?
Computer.
Phone.
Cell phone.
Android.
iPhone.
Basically, the mobile devices. They have different requirements because they're smaller computers. They have smaller screens. And so from that idea, he decided how to improve the process of converting long articles or documents or other things to summarize them. And he created a product called Sunly. And Sunly is based on something called
It's almost your last name, Christian.
who can say that word? Raise your hand if you can say it. Don't say it.
Algorithm.
An algorithm. Very good.
Gino.
What in the world is an algorithm? No? Okay. An algorithm is kind of like a recipe. It's kind of like a formula. It's kind of a way to just go through and do some things. He figured out a way to summarize longer articles, taking the key points and putting them into a shorter document. And Yahoo wants to do that as a company, and they went and looked at all the people doing that. See, he's not the only one doing that, but he's doing it better than anybody else, according to Yahoo's conclusions. And they said, hey, we want to buy your business. And so he sold his business to Yahoo for $40 million last month. Now that's a pretty big price, and there's a lot to consider on that. But you can continue playing games and spending all your time on Facebook and wasting time, or you can realize something very important. We all should realize, and do we have a eraser? There you go. That we all have a purpose. Okay? And life is a lot more fun if we discover our purpose and it develops into a passion. And the other thing I want to talk to you about is opportunity. And then this word over here, Kelly, check my spelling on that. I don't have a spell checker on the mic. What word is that?
Entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur. Who's ever heard of entrepreneur? Well, I want to encourage you to consider your creative talents, and maybe consider, as you talk about, planning for your future, you might want to become an entrepreneur, because your generation is going to be entering into a new age of technology, and I want to talk to you a little bit about what that's going to be. Fair enough? Okay. You guys are being very well behaved right now. Is this normal?
Okay. Usually I be talking.
Okay, what's the first word I wrote up there?
Purpose.
Purpose. People need to ask the question, what's my purpose in life? You should ask yourself, what's your purpose in life? Who's already been wondering about that? Well, you should. If you haven't, you better start. Okay? Everybody do like this. You feel anything beating?
Yes.
Yes.
Have a purpose?
Gino,
All right. Listen up. If you have a pulse, you have a purpose.
Yeah.
Okay? If you have a pulse, you have a purpose.
I don't feel anything.
I'm dying. Gino, complete.
Thank you. Go ahead and raise your hand if you didn't feel anything. We'll get back to you later. All right. We got to do that in
Because I don't have no heart.
How many of you know what passion means? Go ahead.
Something that you have, like, something that you want to do.
Something that you want to do in life. Okay, good. Back row.
Something you like to do.
Something you like to do. Well, I like to, okay, we'll keep getting some. Go ahead.
Your goals in life.
Goals in life?
Incorrect.
Well, that can be part of it. But I'm looking for some other words, and I won't argue with any of those, because I would just say that it'd be nice to have goals that are consistent system with no passion, right? Go ahead.
What you were made to do?
Well, that's more on the purpose side. Purpose is like what you were made to do, okay? Your purpose in life, it's called your God-given purpose for those who have faith. And it's important to, through your faith, try to understand what your purpose is, okay? And what your,
What I was going to say was like, passion is sort of like a job only you like doing.
okay, passion is like a job that you like doing, okay?
It's something that you're dedicated to,
Something you're dedicated to,
like love.
like love
I love
or
it.
romance,
Like
right?
Tupac.
Okay,
Something that I
something like something you admire. Okay, Petty, can you hear me? Okay, how are we doing on the volume?
You did.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
Did I? How about the word excitement? How about the word emotion? Those are words that are used in the definition of passion. Something that you get emotional about or highly emotional, something that you get excited about or highly excited. So the things you said weren't wrong, but when it comes to love and romance, people talk about being passionate because it's emotional, it's exciting, okay, when you fall in love. So the word has an interesting origin. Passion in the Latin comes from the word to suffer. To suffer. There's a movie, how many people are familiar with Christianity? There's a movie called The Passion of the Christ. You think that had to do with romance or?
Cheating.
It was about the Christ. That's because the word passion also comes from the origin to suffer. But what I want to encourage you is to discover your purpose, okay? And then hopefully find something that you can be passionate about, but your passions will often help you discover your purpose. The things kind of work together. Now, today, I'm coming here to talk about technology and business and things like that, and I want to talk about your opportunities for making a living. Now, a lot of people make a living at something that they're not passionate about. And they probably wouldn't think that that's their purpose in life, is just to do this job. Some people line it up where their job and their purpose and everything is in perfect alignment, but a lot of people, it's not that way. As a matter of fact, they surveyed a bunch of people in the workplace on one survey, and I won't get into all the details of the survey, but 72% of the people said, I would rather be independent than having to work here. Well, that's understandable, because a lot of things that you do in work to earn money and survive, there's nothing there to get passionate about. A lot of it's just grunt work. A lot of it is just a job, because we have responsibilities and we need to pay our bills. And so what I'm talking about is that today, there's more opportunity for you to work independent, to start your own business, to be an entrepreneur than ever before. What's a generation? We say a generation of people. What's a generation? It's kind of like an age group. People who are born between this year and this year. Y'all are part of the same generation because you're all 12, 13, 16-year-olds. And I come from what's called the baby boomer generation. Who's heard of that?
Baby.
Baby boom.
Yes.
Baby.
Who's heard of Gen X generation? Who's heard of millennial generation? Okay. So what you've got here is your generation. When I say that, I mean this is your time, folks. This is your time. And what resources do you have? And what is your purpose, your passion, and do you have the opportunities to pursue it? And that's why you're here today, is to get an education, because you need to, be able to function in this world and have certain skills. But I want to tell you that if you learn how to program, and if you learn about computers, okay, that creates certain opportunities especially for this guy, he's unique. He's like the first person to ever be acquired at age 17 for a company. So I don't think that's going to be the pattern, the life pattern for all of us. But it sure is exciting to think about because he just had an idea, and I shared his idea, and you might have some ideas. And the thing is, if you turn those ideas into opportunities, build businesses and products, you have an opportunity to be not only independent, but independently wealthy. You know what that means?
Rich.
It means you're
Rich.
That means you probably wouldn't have to work. Probably means you wouldn't have to work at something you don't want to do. And so it's worth thinking about. And what I want you to understand today is that because of technology and where it is, I'm going to talk about that now. You have all the resources in this community, the school, your church, the libraries, the other things that you have all you need right here to be successful, to discover your purpose, to develop your passion, and to live independently, okay? So let me tell you a little bit about that. This guy was able to write a program. I'm an entrepreneur, and I have a startup company, and I've been working on it for the last few years. And what we do is we make building applications easier. I'm working on technology right now that would allow you to be creating your own applications without having to learn a programming language. Who's heard the term programming language? Anybody heard that term? Okay, have you ever heard of Java? You've heard on your Java is a programming language. You can actually write instructions for the computer in Java and turn them into an application. And since it was written in Java, we call it a Java app so that people kind of know what its source is, the source technology. And if you've heard of maybe C or C++, okay, those are programming languages that people learn. Yes, ma'am. Is Java like a security network too? Maybe you've seen it in some context, so I don't want to say no. Okay? But Java in its origins is just a programming language that's a little simpler to use over a predecessor language. And they evolved it to try to make it easier for more people to use, and especially to be able to write programs that work well in the internet world. Remember I talked about mobile phone has special requirements, need things to be a little bit smaller if it's articles and things. Well, when the internet came about, they needed programs that kind of worked well within the internet, where they're on big networks and running around, and so maybe that's where it's used in the networking environment, but it's a programming language in its origins, okay? So what we've done is we allow you to build applications, and you don't have to learn Java, and you don't have to learn Visual Basic, and you don't have to learn C# or these other languages. And so right now, the world of applications is pretty much owned by the people who can write computer programs. We're changing that. We're going to allow people who are in businesses to write programs. People who don't have technology people. People create their own apps quicker and more affordably. Now, let me give you an example. The first problem we tried to solve was a guy who was trying to do reporting. And he has a manager team, and he had 70 contractors. You know what a contractor is? It's like somebody who signs an agreement with you that I'll do this if you pay me this. That's a contract. And a lot of builders come in and work on your home. And they might be a roofing contractor. That means they'll put their roof on for you if you pay them, but that's really, they're not your employee or anything. They're just under contract and put a roof on your house, or remodel your kitchen, or fix your yard up, or do something on a specific task. That's what a contractor is. Someone who works according to an agreement. Okay? Well, contractors in the computer world working for companies, and they might have 70 of them. That's a lot of them. That's a lot of projects to be managed. Well, the managers can't manage without information, so they get somebody and they say, hey, go over and get all the status from all the contractors and put it in a report and put it on my desk. And then that way the manager can just scan the report, but who did all the work? The person over here who pulled all the information together. So we had a guy over here who's having to pull information together every month, and it took him a day and a half. Okay? It took him a day and a half. And he looked at our program, and he said, our technology, our product, and he said, wow, I bet you that you could make the computer do what I'm doing and automate it. And I said, yeah, I think we can. So he wrote down what we call his requirements. Does that make sense? He says, this is what I require. If we're going to have a contract, you should document exactly what's required. And that's called your requirements document. And he said, well, I need to be able to send an email to all these people from the spreadsheet, and I need to get their responses back, and I need to do this thing, get the information, and put it into a common spreadsheet, and then I need to email that to 7 managers. Does that make sense? Okay? You with me? You get in there? And so I took those requirements and I sent it to a programmer. I said, here you go. Tell me what it'll cost me for you to write a program, an application, to do this work. Here it is. Gave him the requirements. And he came back and he said, I can write Java, and I can do that in 20 days. You have to pay me for 20 days. Now, as a programmer, guess how much he gets paid per day? Over $1,000 a day, because he's a top-notch programmer. So I got his proposal back, and he said he could have it in 20 days of labor. Now, that's not the calendar days. 20 days means that he'll work maybe half a day on Monday, a couple hours on Tuesday. He was off Wednesday, so he worked all day. But he was thinking in his own mind, I'm doing this work, and I can do it in about 20 days worth of full work, but I have to spread that work out over, because I don't have 20 days to sit down, start working, and then finish in 20 days. So the calendar itself was going to be a much longer delivery time. You follow what I'm saying? I'm telling you this because you can be thinking through these things. If you want to start your business, if you want to give a bid to somebody for your work, why don't you just understand the process? It's not that hard. I just told you what it is. But here's the key about our innovation. You see, we've innovated on this process because he would go write code, and after 20 days of billable effort spread out over a much longer time period, he said, I'll do that for you, and your bill will be $25,000. Okay? So I'd like him to do that, but this morning, could y'all kind of kick in and let me kind of raise $25,000? Do you have any loose change, or can you help me raise that kind of money? How many think that's a lot of money? That's an enormous amount of money. And because of that, guess why he was doing it, taking a day and a half every month? Because the state government he worked for wouldn't pay the $25,000 to get it automated. Okay? The price of programming is expensive. So with our tool, we allow you to develop things on the internet and assemble programs without being a programmer. Now how cool is that? And guess how long it took us to do the same work that he did 20 days on? 20 minutes. 20 minutes. And that's why we have a real hot idea. And maybe you'll be reading about me in the paper one of these days. I don't know. But the thing is that our idea is that we created all these tools so that somebody can not have to learn the hard programming language. Does that make sense? And so with our tool, hopefully, we'll be giving it to y'all next year. And y'all can start doing things with